Victoria, the capital of British Columbia. I've been here many times, in different seasons. The beauty of the city makes you feel each time is the first time, as every time is different. Like memories, our memories can be recalled many times, and each time you may still find something new in it. This time, I'm here in the middle of spring, and the whole city of Victoria blossoms. Hypnosis is known for regression or memory recall. Over the years, I have helped a lot of people remembering or recalling all sorts of memories. Most commonly, the childhood repressed memories, or finding a misplaced item somewhere, passwords, and a conversation they had. Sometimes people wanted to remember a conversation they had with someone who may have already passed on. And also the memory loss due to drug and alcohol involvement. Many years ago, I wrote a blog post about drug and rape case. The most interesting one was one day I helped a gentleman find his rental car. He was new to Vancouver. He stayed in a hotel in Burnaby, I remember, and then he rented a car. He drove to downtown at night for a meeting, and he just couldn't remember where he parked his car, and he had to come to see me 1 day or 2 days later. So hypnosis helped him remember where he parked his car. Very recently, I was contacted by a gentleman who wanted to remember the surname of someone he was very close to about 40 years ago. He wanted to, for whatever reason, he wanted to find her again, and her first name was quite generic, so he believed if he remembers her last name, and he would have better chance of finding her. And this gentleman lives in Oregon in the States. He contacted many of the local hypnotherapists who turned him down and telling him it's impossible to do that. And he had to search more online, and he found me online. He was willing to do an online session. And so he has many questions for me. And one of the first questions he has for me is it possible to recall the surname of someone through hypnosis? Well, everything is possible. Like footprint. When you have the footprint, it's possible to trace back. When there's an imprint in our brain, we can trace it, we can find it. But like any footprint, for example, if you leave a footprint on the beach, when the ocean waves come, might wipe it out. But it's worth trying. So yes, it's possible. Our experiences always leave some imprint in our psyche, the subconscious mind, or sometimes we call it even cellular memory. The body can help you remember. And I told him, I can also help you recall some memories, regression to the moment in time for some conversations. Maybe that's also can help in a different angle, different way to locate her. And then he asked me, how does hypnosis memory recall actually work? Now, hypnosis regression is really not remember something like you remember what you had for breakfast. And that's short-term memory that's located in the frontal lobe. the subconscious memory is a little more like a limbic system. So as I said earlier, when there's an imprint, it's possible to trace back. So how do we have some imprint? Mostly for long-term memory, when you have more like emotional connection, emotional imprint, it's easier to create that long-term memory. Hypnosis memory recall is not to remember, is to relive and re-experience the moment. It's to go back in that moment in time, like a movie that's made in one moment in time. We can rewatch the movie over and over in real time. And sometimes we all have this experience that the second time or third time we watch the same movie that we have seen before, we end up seeing something new, something we overlooked before. Like I said, this beautiful place, Victoria. I have been here many times before. I've probably have sat on the same chair before, but every time it feels the first time. Then he asks me, how can I know the memories that come up in hypnotic regression are trustworthy? Well, you can't know while we are having a session. During the process, you have to just go with it first. How can you know? That question is better asked after the session, when you have the data. The hypnotic regression itself is to connect the data. We cannot connect the data and analyze the data at the same time. It's a two-step process. We can't mix them. So when you ask this question beforehand, you already go into a session with this component we call doubt. And doubt itself begets more doubt. It makes this information not pure. We cannot go into a regression with this kind of doubt in it. We need to set it aside and just go for it. Let it surface. Let whatever comes through, comes through. When you have the enough data, then you can analyze if it's trustworthy or not. Like you want to get gold in a riverbank. You have to take everything in, and then you sift through. That's sifting through is the second process. It's to know. But when you get everything in first, that's a regression. We need to let it flow, let it go. So my answer is, you don't need to think about that thought. Don't need that question. Just be open, let it go, let yourself go through, let the information surface. Then you will find out. You will have a sense. Normally, a genuine hypnotic regression, the quality is slightly different from fabrication. Inwardly, when you go through the experience, you will just know it. So that's the answer to the question. Ask the question after you have had the experience. 2 steps. Don't do step number 2 before you have already done step number 1. So have a regression and then analyze it. You will know it. His last question for me was what he needs to do. What does he need to do to prepare for such a session? And the answer is really relax into this process and set a general intention, and not to be too hungry, not to be too full, and that's pretty much it. Relaxation is really important in this. When we were nervous or when we were stressed, the muscles in the brain, the neurons, they were tight. It's not very conducive for the openness of the memory recall. We all have this experience of, for example, you hear a song in the radio, and you know the tone, you know the song's name, you know the singer, and you're just not quite there yet. It's almost like feel like it's right there on the tip of the tongue. You just can't say it until you go, forget about it, and you get on with your day. You take a walk, and what happens when you are taking a walk somewhere in nature? It's just that you're not particularly thinking about it, trying to recall anything. You're not stressing about it. The name of the song or the singer just surfaces into your awareness. It's kind of like that, just relax into this. So the answer is relax and chill and set general intention. That's all you need to do for preparation of such a session. Mind has amazing ways to register memories. People can have babyhood memories, or sometimes even in their mother's womb memories that can come up in a hypnotic regression. And even pre-birth memories people can remember. That just got me remember a few days ago I was working with a young man. He was complaining about a blissful state that he felt before, but now he does not have access to. So I was asking him about the details of the memory, just tell me more about that blissful memory, blissful state you're in. So bit by bit, he gave me details about that memory he already remembered of the bliss. And on the rooftop, he was doing yoga. And with every little detail, I echoed back to him. I said it back to him to intensify that experience. So bit by bit, and obviously right in front of me on the screen, we were doing a remote session, and I could tell he just dropped into that state. So certain details of the memory can help us to recreate a state. And when we are in that state, so when obviously he was already in that state, right there in a hypnotic state, he was in that blissful state. We call this, by the way, a hypnotic revivification. And something happens when he was already in that state, in that blissful state, in a hypnotic state. More memories came back to him, more details came back to him. And as he was telling me, we eventually anchored that state, that blissful state, into something. And so he would have access to that anytime he needed to. Yes, states and memories, they always go hand in hand together. I've done this many before, like looking for something, an item I misplaced, I couldn't remember, like a car key. Now you can go all over your house, your place, looking for it, every drawer, every corner, every possible place. And where is it? Can't find it. The chance is not very high that you will find it very successfully in your own time frame. So if you could, in those moments, if you actually could just, instead of looking for it, you get quiet and you ask yourself, what was the last time I was with the item? If I were to do it now, where would I place it? So you, instead of trying to fit it, thinking you have lost it or it's missing, you drop back into that moment when you were when you were with that item, and ask yourself, if I were to place it now in the same manner, where would I put it? So you have a better chance, quicker way to find that item. So you get quiet first. You ask yourself, if I were to do it now, how would I do it? You have more confidence finding it. Little tip for your own hypnotic regression.